The Role of the Technology Leader by David Marcovitz. So this information comes from a long study that I did that was a year-long ethnographic study in an elementary school, but this focuses on a single day following around a technology leader in that school known as the computer coordinator. So in that year-long study, there were several pieces of information that I gathered. I had this typical day with the computer coordinator where I followed him around the entire day, taking notes on everything that he did. Throughout the year, I had informal discussions with the computer coordinator, observations of the computer coordinator, various formal interviews with teachers and the principal, and various class observations as well. So I spent many, many hours in this school, but again, this presentation focuses on that single day for the most part. So the first result that I got from this study was support by walking around, and that includes any support given by virtue of being in the right place at the right time. So here is an example of that. At about 8:45 a.m., Robert, not his real name, left the library to go talk to the secretary in the front office about the equipment he needed to order. On the way, he bumped into a teacher and told her that he would be getting some shareware for the computer she just got in her classroom. He also bumped into the chair of the school technology committee and chatted with her for a minute. When he got to the office, he discussed what paperwork he needed to buy the parts he needed. On the way out of the office, he bumped into another teacher, and she told him that her computer had not worked since Friday. He went to her classroom and fixed a simple problem. She also told him that she had just taken a workshop about ClarisWorks, and she would like to get it on her computer. So within a few minutes, he bumped into 3 teachers, helping to keep one teacher enthusiastic about her new computer, staying abreast of issues in the school by chatting with the technology committee chair, and solving a problem that could have persisted for several days had he not bumped into the other teacher. And so this is 3 things that he was able to do, reminding the first teacher of something he was going to do for her, chatting with the second teacher about computers and school issues, and fixing a minor problem that he was made aware of by that third teacher because he bumped into her. So during that day, I witnessed 50 total supportive activities that he did, and of those, 22 of them, close to half, were support by walking around, not planned, just walking around, bumping into somebody. So the implications for this are, first of all, that it's useful to keep in touch with teachers by walking around. Also, there are many immediate and unplanned needs. But third, the computer coordinator was often acting in emergency mode, finding problems and fixing them, and not planning for things. So as I continued looking at my data and the information I collected, I also looked at the types of things that the computer coordinator did. So there were 3 main categories, and then there's an other category that we won't get into, but some other things that this computer coordinator didn't do but could have done. But you can see the biggest category is what I call nuts and bolts, then comes policy, and then comes curriculum. And nuts and bolts are things that are the kinds of things a technician could do, fixing small problems, maybe helping with something really minor, but not something that you need to be a teacher to help somebody with. And then there's policy issues. The school had many policy issues, how to equitably distribute the technology that they had, what are the rules and uses of the technology, the printer, whatever. And then there are curriculum issues, helping teachers with curriculum. And you can see in this case, curriculum was the smallest piece of what this computer coordinator did. That doesn't mean it has to be, but it was for this particular computer coordinator. So here are some examples of what happened during that day. So during my day with the computer coordinator, he walked around the school collecting data for the hardware inventory, worked in the library on the software inventory, ate lunch with several teachers discussing a variety of things including technology, loaded shareware on a teacher's computer, discussed policy with the librarian and the chair of the technology committee, went to a classroom to look for some software he needed and helped the teacher fix a problem she was having with her email, answered a technical question for the principal, bumped into a teacher and discussed the status of the network, found a printout at the printer that included several blank pages and discussed ways to prevent this from happening. Arranged times to help train 2 teachers individually, helped to schedule use of the computer in the library, told a teacher how to fix a software problem when she came down to the library to pick something up from the printer, arranged to help out as a technical consultant for a special program in the school, answered a question over the phone for a teacher who is home on sick leave. So you can see that 37 out of 50 of the things that he did, I didn't include every last thing that he did in that little snippet, but 37 out of 50 were categorized as nuts and bolts. And most of the others were barely more than nuts and bolts. It was a fine line between training and curriculum kinds of things and nuts and bolts when it was really low-level kinds of things. And so what this meant was that this computer coordinator was usually 74% of the time acting in emergency mode because of the immediate technical and training needs of these teachers. There are a lot of immediate needs, especially when implementing new technology. But emergency mode is no way to be acting all the time as a technology leader. So how can we prevent emergency mode? Well, you can't prevent emergency mode. There are going to be emergencies that need to be dealt with. But the key here is that if you just let yourself be as a technology leader, you're going to spend a lot of time walking around if you're going to be at all effective. You're going to do a lot of nuts and bolts, and you're going to constantly be in emergency mode. So to avoid that, you want to plan. And that's what we've talked about the entire semester, is that we need to create a plan of action, have some goals, have some ideas of where we want to go, so that we don't let the emergencies take over everything that we're doing. We can't always be putting out fires. We have to also be planning and moving the school forward, not just fixing things. And that is the power of planning that the technology leader needs to keep in mind so that the immediate little things don't take over. And for your information, just some of the sources where I got the graphics from. And thank you very much for your attention.